After 17 years of exile, Tarique Rahman has returned to become the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Destiny, it seems, has turned its full circle. Despite all the, I would say, the justifiable claims of a low voter turnout, the ban on the Awami League, and obviously the legitimacy of the Bangladesh elections, fact remains that Tarique Rahman will soon take power. And India as a country and we as a people have to deal with whoever is in power in Dhaka. To discuss this, we have somebody who knows the internal, social, political, and military dynamics of Bangladesh and what it means for the region. We have General Syed Ata Hasnain, former GOC 15 Corps and member of NDMA. Welcome to Samvad, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. So, starting with the elections, and the biggest factor, people were saying that Jamaat, they were opinion polls, political pundits were saying that the Jamaat-e-Islami could win. There was a possibility that it's going to win. It will do very well, outstandingly well. It has performed underwhelmingly, I would say, sir. 77 seats. And there's this very interesting tweet from Taslima Nasreen. She's obviously at loggerheads and genuinely so with the fundamentalists. Now, she has said that in this election, I am not happy because the BNP won, but because the Islamist jihadi terrorist group was defeated. So, in effect, sir, how do you see this defeat of Jamaat-e-Islami? Is this setback going to push them into political oblivion, or they could have worked their way through these 2.5 years and built up a formidable cadre structure?
Thank you, Bank Sahab. Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me for this program. And I think it's a very important juncture that we are discussing this. And let me start by conveying our compliments to Bangladesh, the people of Bangladesh, for having conducted such peaceful elections. It was something not expected otherwise. Peaceful elections and hopefully a very peaceful transition into an elected government very soon. Coming to your question directly. We all expected over the last 18 months seeing the tone and tenor of street power in Dhaka and other cities of Bangladesh. We all realized that as if power was in the hands of the Islamists, those who were radically oriented and normally associated with the Jamaat-e-Islami as we understand it. But it has not translated into electoral power. And the people don't seem to have voted in that kind of strength. Although there are comparisons here, which we should put on record in terms of observations. Number one, this is the largest win for the Jamaat. Although they have not got what they desired, but this is the largest win for the Jamaat. This is not something which is not prevalent in South Asia. This has happened in Pakistan several times, where the Islamists, we have always perceived they are on the verge of a breakout into power and have somehow not received the support of the people at the hustings. At the last minute, the people somehow always withdraw and feel that established political authorities, the political system itself needs to be reinforced rather than street power of the Islamists. That is exactly what has happened here. We would have expected that with the Awami League moving out and the vote now being divided purely between the BNP and the Jamaat, there would be an upsurge, and that is exactly what has happened. There has been an upsurge in the number of seats that the Jamaat has gone, but the majority of the votes which may have gone to the Awami League have obviously gone to the BNP. And that is the one which has won 2/3 of majority. Having said that, I won't go by any assumptions at this stage to say that there has been a dilution in any way of the power of the Islamists in Bangladesh. Without political power also, the Islamists continue to have, they rule the roost as far as street power is concerned. And a very interesting issue which you may have seen also is the fact that there's a map going around with showing how the border belt with Bengal and partially with Assam is almost entirely in the hands of the Jamaat-e-Islami. So as far as India-Pakistan border, India-Bangladesh border is concerned, the dynamics may be slightly different to what may happen inside the rest of Bangladesh. In terms of security, let's kill it at this stage itself in our discussion.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, when you have a greater radicalized presence, radicalized communities along the border belt, it helps in infiltration, it helps in all kinds of buildup of turbulence in the area. It could mean drugs, it could mean narcotics or weaponry, fake currency, anything like that, and an influence on the elections along the border belt in West Bengal. So these are things that we have to contend with. It's not a black and white kind of a situation where it's just a simple binary to say one has won and the other has lost. No, the situation is fairly gray, and we've got to see the dynamics regionally in different parts of Bangladesh.
Sir, I'll just digress for a moment because you've raised an issue of radicalization of the society and the Islamization of the society per se. I'm just taking a small detour because as a layperson who understands a bit of Bangladesh, who tries to understand a bit of Bangladesh, it was born out of its opposition to Pakistan, the East Pakistan and the West Pakistan conundrum, and so it was supposed to have a more inclination towards the culture bit rather than the religion bit. But somehow radicalization has taken hold with a number of people coming out on the streets. It's not a one-off situation. So what is the reason behind this growing radicalization, and what the impact is going to be on the surrounding countries also? Because there's Myanmar, there's India, a lot going on. So what exactly has caused
Yes,
this?
this is a very interesting phenomenon which has been there right from 1981 onwards, although you can even predate it from that. But 1981 is a good date to really start looking at all this, not particularly in Bangladesh, but in major parts of the Islamic world.
Hmm.
1981 is the date from which you found the establishment of the refugee camps in the western borders of Pakistan, Afghanistan, along the Durand line and Baluchistan and places like that. Millions of refugees had come out, and you found attempts by uh, the clergy from
Hmm.
different countries in the Middle East coming out there, lots of money being splurged, and an effort to try and spread a more obscurantist form of Islam
Hmm.
in those camps. It is not just those camps alone, but the same amount of money was splurged in port portions of northern India, north central India, along the Nepal border, and very hugely inside Bangladesh, right?
Hmm.
Uh, the classic example of this is that we have always associated Kashmir with the Sufist, diluted form of Islam, in the sense more accepting, tolerant form of Islam. But you found from 1990 onwards, when the Holocaust against the Kashmiri Pandits happened, you found the advent of radical Islam coming into Kashmir too. And despite the fact that we have made very valiant efforts to contest it, it's still portions of that are still embedded there. So this is not a phenomenon which is only sort of relevant to Bangladesh. It's happened in many parts of the world. It happened in Indonesia, happened in Malaysia and places like that. But Indonesia, Malaysia, further off, slightly further away from the core center of Middle East, have somehow been able to control things to a much greater extent.
Hmm.
Bangladesh, with its poverty, lower development indices, and things of that nature, have somehow not been able to control this completely. And this is where you found Sheikh Hasina coming to loggerheads many times with all these obscurantists and Islamists from time to time. The Awami League will always considered a very tolerant, forward looking kind of a political party, always at odds with this kind of a thing. Now in this election, when what happened was that after the 5th of August, for the first time, you found street power completely in the hands of the Islamists.
Hmm.
Prior to this, last 15, 20 years, we saw with the Awami League rule, and even to an extent with the BNP there, you never found the Islamists being that powerful, that strong. But in the last 1.5 years, we have seen them going completely haywire in this entire thing.
Hmm.
So that unfortunately, that situation will continue for some more time, perhaps,
Hmm.
because despite the fact that that has not translated into electoral power, street power still happens to be in the hands of the Islamists in Bangladesh or many other parts. In fact, in Pakistan also, if you see, much of it is in the hands of the Islamists. Every other day, a rally in Islamabad, a rally in Peshawar is called for by these people.
Hmm.
So this is something that we will have to contend with. Um, all this action against minorities in Bangladesh, etc., is primarily at their behest that it has been happening. So, while on the one hand, Islamism around the world has diluted to an extent with the backstep by global terror, also, you find that ideologically things somehow still seem to be very much embedded the way they were.
Hmm.
We hope that better times will prevail, better education, better when the economies improve, when the quality of life improves. These are the kind of things which will start diluting. But that is when it's going to happen.
Hmm.
Till that happens, this kind of an ideology will remain embedded there.
Sir, I'll come back to the post-poll scenario in Bangladesh. There's the July Charter, which there were the demands, which a July Charter, Muhammad Yunus went after it. He kept on postponing the elections also till the July Charter was finalized. It was there in the referendum, although a lot said about, you will explain about the legality of the referendum. I'll come to that also. The Jamaat-e-Islami obviously wants the full implementation of the July Charter. And BNP, there are different versions coming out of BNP. Tariquerahman was supporting the July Charter. Now, there are reports today that the BNP cadres, in the BNP leaders in the what should I say, sir, the suburban areas, they went out and saying no against the vote. So, and the Jamaat is hell bent on imposing it. So, do you see this as a potential flashpoint in the very near future?
I hope not, because though this is a point of contention, no doubt, the only point of contention actually really saying between the parties at the moment, I hope that the peaceful election that has been conducted at the moment doesn't ultimately end up getting converted into a form of violence, turbulence in the streets of Dhaka once again. But we can only hope that that happens. Uh, if there are any indications that the Jamaat has got
Hmm.
that their influence with the 77 seats that you have mentioned just now, that their influence is still very much intact. It
Hmm.
is not sort of diluted itself. They may be tempted to play this game out completely and hope that they can get the July Charter implemented or parts of the July Charter implemented through the BNP government itself.
Hmm.
But to my mind, I think the BNP is going to resist this, and Tariq Rahman is going to resist this because he, I think, likes to see himself as a greater liberal at the moment, the way one is looking at it,
Hmm.
a bit of a liberal, and does not want to be seen completely in having the support of the Islamists or in any way having anything to do in sync with the Islamists at this time. The West, which has supported, the whole movement has really been supported very largely by the West,
Yes, sir.
with the risk that they took of supporting Islamists in the streets in Bangladesh. I hope they will realize that a situation has come which is in favor of Bangladesh and the people of Bangladesh.
Hmm.
A possibly the BNP, I won't call it a liberal party as such, but a liberal form of government will come about and will find the scope to go about rebuilding Bangladesh's economy, social society, and things of that nature. Everything which has gone haywire, diluted in the last 18 months.
Hmm.
So I am very, very hopeful that that will happen. But next few days after the government formation, we will start getting indicators of how exactly the Jamaat perceives its own position in this in the current conditions. If it perceives that it has still got a level of popularity that can bring people to the streets, you never know, the Jamaat may wish to opt for that kind of an action.
Yes, sir. So, and was this the referendum legal as per the Bangladeshi constitution, or just one of those
And
issues?
not as per the Bangladesh constitution, not as per the Bangladesh constitution, because that the constitution only permitted a conduct of an election of this nature, and that is what I think the BNP has been harping upon
Hmm.
most of this time, and this was a major point of contention between the BNP and the now the so-called opposition as such. It For all you know, this kind of a thing may become legal. There may be some legal wrangles on this, and ultimately the Bangladesh judiciary may be called upon to intercede and give its decision as to whether some kind of a change can take place under the July Charter. Why not just now that you have an elected government and you have a two-third majority of the BNP? If anything is required in terms of a constitutional amendment, that will be done. But if the BNP opposes it, obviously it will not be done.
So the persona of Sheikh Hasina still looms large over Bangladesh, and it looms large over India and Bangladesh also. I was listening to Humayun Kabir, who is the advisor to Tarique Rahman, and supposed to be the next foreign minister of Bangladesh, and he was speaking to Indian news networks where he said that Sheikh Hasina is blamed Sheikh Hasina that she used India as a veil to cover her crimes, taking India's name as a principal sponsor of all those crimes. And he was basically alluding to the request for extradition of Sheikh Hasina back to Bangladesh, where she's already been handed over a death sentence. So he was alluding to that also. So not a very good beginning, I would say, sir, for the India and Bangladesh relations asking for this extradition. How do you look at this?
Too early. I wish Mr. Kabir had not selected this moment. It's a moment of elation in Bangladesh, no doubt. But I think he should look at this more maturely in terms of Indo Bangladesh relations. It's again not a binary. It's not a question of what is right and what is wrong. India is duty bound to give whatever it can to Sheikh Hasina, the historic relationship that we have had. These are not the kind of things on which India will relent very easily. But having said that, I would also say that India's approach through the last 18 months has been very, very correct, I would say. The optics have been good despite a tremendous amount of provocation which has come in terms of minority bashing in Bangladesh, the kind of statements, the political rhetoric which has come out from there, India has been quiet. The restraint has been actually appreciable.
Hmm.
We have seen some very good event actions, such as the Minister of External Affairs going and attending the funeral of the late Khalida Zia, Prime Minister Modi making the first call, being the first foreign leader to make a call to Tarique Rahman. These are all good things which India has been involved in and been deliberately doing. I wish Sheikh Hasina had not made these utterances while being in Delhi here, because that unnecessarily draws attention to the relationship that she enjoys with India. And this is the time actually to keep quiet and let things play themselves out. You will find lots of noises on this will come from the other side, from Bangladesh. But India, I think, will keep quiet on this and let time be a greater healer.
Hmm.
I'm sure the power of cooperation, economic cooperation, uh, trade, supply chains, and things of that nature should overrule other political issues which are going to be also there very much on the table.
Hmm.
So we hope that we can postpone all this. And as time goes along, you'll find possibly some better things emerging in the relationship, which will help us to overcome this problem. Because when you are contending a problem of this nature, you don't start taking it on head on.
Hmm.
Because the moment that happens, then there are really no solutions to it.
Hmm.
You wait, you postpone these things, and you allow time to be the greater healer. I think that should be the approach that we will probably adopt.
Sir, a very hypothetical question. Do you see India actually extraditing Sheikh Hasina back to Bangladesh? Is that possible?
I will be very forthright on that. and say, no, I do not see the Indian nation taking kindly to a decision of that kind. And the government of India, I think, has the level of maturity, full understanding of what its own interests are. It cannot be seen to be doing this, perhaps. And therefore, I would go along and say, it's very unlikely that this will happen.
Very important to understand that also, sir. And I mean, I might sound as a very pessimistic person to start off the Indo-Bangladesh relations in this new age. There's this interview with the Time magazine, which Tarique Rahman gave in January, where he said that he talks of containing imbalances which need to be rectified, imbalances between treaties between India and Bangladesh. Today, Humayun Kabir, he seems to be speaking a bit out of line, I would say, sir. I'll be very frank about it. And he says that the communal violence in Bangladesh is overhyped. It is much more in India. So somehow this relation, this economic cooperation, somehow, this is my personal feeling, sir. I don't see the BNP actually taking the first step forward because India has already taken a step forward. Does the BNP need to do a bit more to make this relationship a bit more amiable?
Yes, I think you're right, absolutely. But India, as the larger nation, will take the initiative. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, sir.
We will always consider this. Our eastern flank is a very important flank for us. We consider Bangladesh a very important nation for us. The largest border, 4,100 kilometers long border, international border. With no other nation do we have such a long border. Common culture, lots of other commonalities that we have. I think India has the wavelength, the overall capability to absorb a lot. These are the kind of tricky situations like the situation we had with Sri Lanka. I think we have resolved that very largely through patience, through restraint. Many times people do not consider restraint as a weapon by itself.
True.
Everyone wants to jump into situations and start being proactive about things. Yes, proactivity is very good. Let's be proactively restrained.
True.
When you are proactively restrained, you will find that options open out, many more things dawn on you. Time itself, as I was just mentioning a little while ago, it becomes a great healer. And you're not, in this case, Bangladesh is not an adversary, but those who you are contending with in these situations, they themselves start seeing the light. The moment you start a confrontationist approach in situations of this kind, you will only harden positions. And the moment positions get hardened, there is very little scope for dilution and dialogue. Everything can be done through dialogue between India and Bangladesh. It is in mutual interest. We all understand it. It's in our mutual interest. Economics in Bangladesh and we are in India, it gladdens our heart the moment we hear anything about Bangladesh in terms of economic development, social development, and things of that nature. The moment we hear about statistics coming out of Bangladesh, I am very happy to always buy some cloth product which has been manufactured in Bangladesh. I remember buying it in England and saying, oh, this is made in Bangladesh. Good, let's buy it. Because, you feel for the region, you feel for the country. I have served with the Bangladesh army myself. And incidentally, in this whole discussion and several other discussions, one is glad that the Bangladesh army has not been mentioned because the army need not be mentioned in political discussions.
I was going to
But
come to that, sir.
I must mention here, let me precede your
Yes, sir.
question
Please
by
do.
saying this, that the Bangladesh army has acted very, very maturely in this situation right through the last 18 months, if you have seen. Right? You may have seen the ISI visiting there, etc. There may have been optics at the behest of Muhammad Yunus or whatever it is. I hope all that there will be a backstep from all that Tariq Rahman will now ensure and execute. But the Bangladesh army definitely has come out the winner in all this in terms of the reputation
Definitely.
and projection. And I'm sure that they are the ones. many times I consider that the Bangladesh Army's situation in Bangladesh under the current condition is something like the British Army in Northern Ireland, where they, stood back. They took a couple of steps back and stood back and allowed economic activity to come, social activity to come, integrated schools to function. When economics took the primacy, you found problems of Northern Ireland all resolved. This is exactly the steps you need to take in Bangladesh. And the Bangladesh army is the best placed to hold the periphery, so to say, take the step back and hold the periphery the way it has been doing it in the last 18 months.
Sir, I can only imagine the temptation General Waqar-uz-Zaman must have had when he saw all this happening, and he could have just stepped in and taken over. But he desisted, and that's a remarkable step. I mean, it's not seen in South Asia. I mean, we'll come to their cousins across the border, Pakistan.
Yes, exactly.
This is the
This exactly.
opposite.
You can take the example right from across the western border and see in the similar situation what could have happened. It's not as if in the case of the Pakistan army, they may not have now acquired political power, but everything else they have. The Bangladesh army has not tried to overstep itself in any way, if you really see. It's not as if they are involved in commercial activity and things of that nature. Yes, there is a lot of money, so to say. Yes, the generals are better off. The army is elitist in Bangladesh society, but so be it. Many armed forces around the world are like that. As long as it is providing stability to the country, preventing insecurity as such, I think it is doing its job.
True, sir. Sir, I'll take you across to one of your articles which you have written recently, and it's about Pakistan, and it's about Bangladesh and Pakistan. You wrote that long-term costs of weaponizing religion and identity in governance. Now, this is what exactly Pakistan has done in its own governance structure. So, what message should Tariquerahman draw from this? I mean, how should we proceed further in governance vis-a-vis this religion and using religion as a form of governance?
I think you should just follow the system which, I don't think it'll be a very nice thing to say that follow the system that the Awami League followed. No, no one will be happy with that. Follow his inkling as to what Bangladesh really requires. I think the message he's got very clearly that the people have voted for him and not the Jamaat, that they have voted for tolerance, that they have voted for a more secular approach to everything. The minorities have themselves supported him in a huge way. As long as he continues to make the right noises in terms of his speeches, etc., in Parliament and other places, which the world will start taking note of in the next few days, the optics have to be correct. It should not look as if he's following a charter, something similar to what the Pakistan army and the government of Pakistan has been following. Otherwise, although the temptation may be that, see, the relationship between Pakistan and Bangladesh has been developing in the last 18 months, the temptation may be to carry it forward. But I think Tariq Rahman is far more sensible and will probably take a step back. I'm not sure whether he has come with any sponsorship from abroad, but even if he has, I'm sure people across the world and across the Western world who may be sponsoring whatever things are happening in Bangladesh over a period of time would themselves realize that any form of extremism which is adopted is only going to be counterproductive. If they think that that is going to be a weapon against India, they need to think again. There are lots and lots of theories about this to think that keeping the eastern flank of India in turbulence is a way of, sort of weakening India. I think people should get their lessons very clear that India has the capability to look after its own security. The Northeast is very important to us strategically. It's not something that this can be wished away. And therefore, Tariq Rahman should hopefully perceive it that way. in the next, and probably there should be a visit coming up sometime either from Bangladesh or from India to Bangladesh, a meeting of important leaders, etc. In that itself, it should be quite easily clarified that mutual security interests have to be adopted. I think turbulence in Bangladesh is not good for Bangladesh itself. And if anyone thinks that it's good for keeping India subjugated and in turbulence on its eastern flank is something good for them, they got to think again.
So one final question, sir. The Awami League factor again, although they are calling for extradition of Sheikh Hasina, apart from that, the leaders have run away from Bangladesh. They have simply vanished from the face of the earth, I would say. The leaders, the Awami League leaders in Bangladesh are in jail. So, and this political vendetta in Bangladesh goes, it's a long history. I mean, one comes to power, sends everybody to jail, the other party to jail. So will the lifting, or would you suggest, if you were to advise Tariquerahman, would you advise to be pragmatic and lift this ban and better have Awami League as the main opposition rather than the Jamaat, and let democracy continue? Will that decrease the turbulence in Bangladesh?
Firstly, to think of the Awami League as the main opposition will take another 5 years if it has to happen.
No,
But
cadre-wise, sir.
yeah, cadre-wise, having said that, I think pragmatically the top leadership of Bangladesh should perceive that a situation akin to 2001, 2013 or beyond is not in Bangladesh's interest, in the sense that elections are held without opposition. No one in the world contends those elections to be true democratic elections. If you have a ban on the BNP, today most of the people complain whatever has happened in Bangladesh has happened because of Sheikh Hasina's dictatorial tendencies of that time, right? Would Tariq himself want Tariq Rahman, would he want to actually be seen in the same light? If he's coming with a completely refreshing kind of an approach to resolving Bangladesh's problems, I'm not expecting him to overnight forgive everyone. And just wish away that the Awami League need not be concerned at all about whatever has happened in the past, etc. I don't think it will be realistic enough to expect that. But over a period of time, I think the next 5 years or so, he has to ultimately open up and allow the Awami League slowly back into political activity. And for that, he needs to support the Awami League. The BNP will have to support the Awami League. As it is, I'm sure a very large number of Awami League cadres have already joined the BNP, more for their security than anything else, right? But having said that, they have to be encouraged over a period of time. This whole thing is going to be hugely, complex, made more complex by the presence of Sheikh Hasina in Delhi, in India. There's no doubt about it. So one should not expect any overnight changes as such. All this will happen with slow parleys between different elements in India, those in power in India, those in Bangladesh, between Sheikh Hasina herself sitting here. It will be an elongated process, very complex process, but I hope it will take place. Because the more they sit on two sides of a fence, the more is the likelihood of greater internal conflict within Bangladesh. And then the Jamaat taking advantage of that is not something that is going to be conducive to the security of this entire area.
Sir, we'll have to conclude on that. And with our wishes to Tariquerahman and the people of Bangladesh, with the best wishes that things settle down after a period of turmoil, because it is in interest of the region that the Bangladesh remains stable and prosperous. Thank you so much.
This is the message we should be sending out, that every one of us in India wishes the people of Bangladesh stability, safety, prosperity. Definitely. That's the only way that peace can be found and Bangladesh can actually chart its course towards greater progress.
Despite
Thank
all
you
the
very
questions
much.
we raised, sir. Despite all the
Yes,
questions we
yeah.
raised, sir, because that is natural.
Despite all the questions we raised.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Anjay.
Thank you.